Revealed. Heartwarming journey of Grandma's incredible transformation. An inspiring tale of hope. It all started on a stormy Thursday. Thunder boomed as if the world was about to twist on its axis. In a quiet little town where nothing much ever happened, Agnes Miller, the town's beloved grandma, was about to shake things up in a way no one could predict. Soft white hair, once neatly tied in a bun, flew wildly around her head like a dandelion caught in a gust. There she stood on the porch, rain splattering around her like tiny pebbles, holding a paintbrush as if it were a magic wand. But not just any paintbrush, this one had been passed down through generations, rumored to have belonged to a famous painter long ago. Curious whispers filled the air. Neighbors peeked through their curtains, eyes wide with disbelief. "What is she painting now?" someone said, while another murmured, "Maybe she has finally lost it." Yet for Agnes this was no ordinary day. As the first raindrops soaked her old-fashioned apron, a strange glimmer sparkled in her eyes. There was a wild, almost reckless hope brewing inside her, a flame no storm could dampen. Every stroke of that brush seemed to unleash something powerful. The colors burst to life, swirling and blending in a dizzying display. Bright reds clashed with serene blues, while playful yellows danced alongside gloomy grays. The onlookers watched, transfixed, as if a spell had been cast. Each drop of paint felt like a piece of her soul released into the world, mixing joy and fear in a heady cocktail. "What is she doing?" a trembling voice said from the crowd. Tension hung thick in the air, with a lump forming in the throats of all who bore witness. But here came the real twist: the paint was glowing. Yes, glowing. Like it held the essence of sunrise trapped within its pigments. People gasped, exchanging looks of shock and disbelief. "Is this some sort of trick?" someone blurted out. And just as a gasp echoed through the crowd, Agnes paused, glanced over her shoulder, and with a knowing smile spoke something that sent chills running down their spines. "It's time for a change," she said, her voice steady, as if daring the universe to embrace the unknown. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." The crowd erupted in murmurs, eyes flickering between wonder and uncertainty. What change did she foresee? And how could a simple act of painting bring about a transformation so profound? Agnes stood tall, her heart racing as she dipped the brush into the brilliant gold that seemed to pulse with life. Flicking her wrist, she breathed life into the canvas, daring the world around her to lean in and listen. What the townspeople didn't know was that this was only the beginning. Secrets long buried were about to be unearthed, and the skies themselves seemed to hold their breath. What would happen next? The vibrant glow of Agnes's paint illuminated the drizzling afternoon, as she continued weaving colors into what seemed to be a story unfolding on the canvas. Gasps erupted from the crowd, transforming uncertainty into a wild, hypnotic fascination. Children clutched their parents' hands tightly, eyes glued to the spectacle, while the adults murmured in hushed awe. Each stroke felt like electricity, crackling in the damp air, sending shivers down their spines. Suddenly, an ominous rumble of thunder shook the ground, louder than before, and the crowd froze. The skies darkened further as if in response to the energy Agnes was beckoning forth. The first drops of rain mingled with paint on the canvas, and that shouldn't have made sense, but somehow it did. Agnes leaned closer, her brow furrowed in deep concentration, the brush dancing deftly over vibrant surfaces. But then the unthinkable happened. From the depths of her creation, shimmering forms began to emerge. Faces, figures, souls long lost were surfacing from the vibrant sea of colors, their expressions filled with longing and sorrow. The townspeople gasped in unison, stepping back as the painted figures appeared to reach out, stretching toward the living world. "Is this real?" a voice quivered from the gathered crowd. It felt as if the boundary between imagination and reality was eroding, and anxiety bubbled within the onlookers like boiling water. Agnes understood their fear but remained steadfast, her brush carving a path forward, as brave as any soldier marching into battle. With a deep breath, she continued her work, vigorously swiping more color across the canvas, the figures inevitably taking shape, pulsing with a life of their own. "Agnes, stop!" shouted Marge, the mayor's wife, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You don't understand what you're doing." Her wide eyes glistened with a mix of concern and intimidation. But Agnes turned her gaze towards Marge, her determination unwavering. "I know exactly what I'm doing," she declared, her voice carrying over the rising wind. "These are stories waiting to be told, faces that deserve acknowledgement." She glanced at the swirling canvas, a powerful wave of emotion flooding her chest. An eerie silence sat upon the crowd, every heart racing with both fear and a flicker of hope. But just as Agnes prepared to unleash the final stroke, the air grew heavy with an otherworldly energy. Something shifted. A shadow shadowed the canvas, darkening those bright colors, transforming the vibrant hues into ominous tones. The figures began to wail, their voices intertwining, echoing, reaching into the souls of everyone gathered. Marge stepped forward, her breath coming in quick bursts. "Agnes, what have you done?" Her voice trembled, resonating fear. "These are the lost, but they're not yours to summon." Just then, a flash of lightning illuminated the chaos, slicing through the ominous shadows. Agnes's heart sank. She hadn't anticipated this consequence. Those she painted were not just escapes from the past. They carried burdens, unresolved pain, and stories begging to be freed. Doubt crept into her mind, but before she could act, the crowd moved as one, wrestling with the energy pulsating from the painting. What had started as a moment of inspiration was swiftly spiraling into a storm of unrest. Tears brimmed in Agnes's eyes as she rushed to tame the chaos she had unwittingly unleashed. Then came a voice, a soft whisper entwined with an echo of the past and the present. "Help us, release us," it breathed into her spirit, tugging at the strings of her heart. Agnes stood trembling, the brush hovering above the canvas, weighing the choice that lay before her. Would she finish the painting, risking the anger of those lost souls? Or would she pull back and keep everything buried? As the crowd swelled in a frantic dance of terror and fascination, one thing became clear: whatever she chose would change everything. What awaited her on the other side of that decision? Was it hope or despair? And in that moment, the fabric of Agnes's world began to unravel. What would she discover next? The wind howled, carrying the whispers of the lost like a mournful song. Agnes's heart raced, pulsating with fear and curiosity as she scanned the painting. Each figure, each desperate gaze revealed a painful tale yearning for release. The air crackled with anticipation, as if the universe itself held its breath, waiting for her decision. With a flick of her wrist, a deep purple droplet of paint fell onto the canvas. The audible gasp from the crowd sent a chill down her spine. Something shifted, rippling across the surface as the shadows deepened and the figures writhed. The expressions etched on their faces twisted from sorrow into something darker, an anguish that grew louder and more desperate. Panic coursed through her as she felt their pain swell like a tidal wave, threatening to engulf her. "You have to stop this, Agnes," Marge pleaded again, her voice slicing through the noise, but the urgency in her tone was drowned out by the chilling cries of the figures. "Help us! Release us!" echoed again in that haunting, ethereal voice. Agnes could hardly breathe. This was no whimsical artistic expression. It was a call to action, a moment heavy with consequence. Every instinct told her to flee, but something deep inside her resisted. She felt the weight of the lost souls bearing down on her, their desperation appealing to her heart. Each face mirrored someone she once knew, their longing to be remembered tugging at her spirit. Agnes whispered, a familiar yet distant voice, her grandmother, long gone. A wave of emotion surged through her, dragging her back to faded memories of summers spent at her feet, comforting words woven through laughter. "What do you want from me?" she shouted into the swell of sound now enveloping her, her voice barely a whisper amidst the cacophony. In an instant, silence enveloped the space. The crowd paused, even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The painted figures froze, their ghostly hands suspended in the air, pleading for release. Agnes, trembling, felt urgency twist around her chest like a vice. "We want to be remembered. We want to seek peace," the voice echoed once more, softer now, wrapping around her like a warm embrace that cut through the cold dread. The truth struck her like a bolt of lightning. This was more than art. It was a bridge between worlds. The painting was alive, a living testament to the stories forgotten, a catalyst for healing. Tears streamed down her face as the realization took root. She needed to complete the painting, to honor the souls woven into the colors, to give them the peace they deserved. But the moment she reached for another brushstroke, thunder rumbled again, this time in protest. The shadows surged back, clawing at her with ethereal fingers, trying to pull her away from the completion of her work. "No, you can't do this," Marge shouted, her face pale with fear. Panic shot through the crowd as the storm above erupted with rain, drenching them in icy water. It mingled with the paint, swirling visions of the past and present, and suddenly the figures were no longer mere memories. They became frantic images of love, loss, and regret that clawed at the minds of the people around her. Agnes's resolve hardened. She had to finish this, no matter the cost. She couldn't let fear dictate her choices. She would unleash the truth, the heart of their stories, and help them find solace. With determination burning in her chest, she pressed the brush to the canvas once more. Colors exploded like fireworks, painting a myriad of emotions, each one bolder than the last. Hearts raced and the crowd leaned in, held captive by the spectacle unfolding before them. But the world around her began to shake, the ground trembled, and the storm intensified. The figures twisted, their expressions becoming more vivid, more alive. Just as Agnes felt herself merging with the canvas, her vision flickering like an old film reel, a dark figure emerged from the shadows, pulling its way forth from the depths of her creation. "Stop her!" It bellowed, voice like gravel. Fear gripped the townsfolk again, panic rippling through them as Agnes faced the figure looming over her. She was trapped in an unimaginable storm, with the lives and souls she painted fighting for her attention, and now this new threat demanding to be acknowledged. Who was this figure? What did it want? And what would it mean for Agnes as she tried to do the right thing? As confusion and urgency spiraled around her, she knew one thing for certain. The truth was about to reveal itself, with unimaginable consequences. What would this impending confrontation bring? The dark figure loomed larger, black and swirling like a tempest, its eyes glowing with a fierce hunger that sent shivers down Agnes's spine. Each heartbeat felt like a drum of expectation, a countdown to the collision of fate. The air was electric, thick with tension and dread. What did it want from her? "Leave her alone," Marge yelled, stepping forward as if to shield Agnes from the onslaught. The crowd quivered, their cries intermingling with the storm overhead, voices rising in a cacophony of fear and determination. "You think you can tame the wildness of lost souls?" The figure sneered, a grin twisting its shadowed face. "You're meddling in things far beyond your understanding." Agnes could feel the weight of the figure's gaze piercing through her. Panic fought against her resolve, clawing at her heart. But deep down she knew there was no turning back. The souls needed her. Drawing in a shaky breath, she stood her ground. "You want to keep them trapped. But they deserve to be free." The ground trembled beneath her feet, the painting vibrating with the intensity of her emotions. The figures within it surged, twisting and swirling. With every brushstroke she had made, every sorrow unleashed, she had brought them to life. Now they fought back, a vibrant rebellion against the darkness. "You have no idea what you're unleashing," the figure hissed, its voice now a low growl. "Their pain is a part of this world just like mine." As if in response to her defiance, the shadows around it grew tighter, snaking their way toward Agnes like tendrils reaching for warmth. The swirling clouds above darkened, heavy with unspent rain, a tempest ready to explode. The painted figures began to weep anew, their eyes imploring Agnes to release them. "You must complete the truth," they cried in unison, their voices resonating with a raw, desperate yearning. Her heart raced faster. Each figure's agony dug deeper into her soul, igniting anger and compassion alike. "But you're still trapped. How can I free you if I can't finish?" The ephemeral figures paused, as if echoed by the weight of her words. The dark figure, sensing its control slipping, roared in frustration, sending a shockwave barreling outward that knocked several townsfolk to the ground. "No. You are chained to the past, you can't just turn away from what you've done." It bellowed, rage boiling over. Ignited by sudden urgency, buried memories bloomed in Agnes's mind. Each drop of color, each layer she had painted, captured a part of them, a life, a laugh, a tear. She closed her eyes, reaching internally, seeking to understand. This was more than a painting. It was their collective story, etched in time. "Then let your stories guide me," she yelled over the roar of the storm, feeling an unfamiliar power stirring deep within her. With newfound determination, she took her brush, fingers trembling but resolute. She began to sweep across the canvas with urgency. The colors pooled together, intertwining the despair of the past with threads of hope as she painted. The dark figure writhed in frustration, attempting to claw its way back into control. But the more Agnes channeled their stories, the brighter the canvas glowed, as though drawing strength from the souls within. "Release us," they sang in a chorus of vulnerable longing, their figures shimmering like sparks igniting in the shadows. Agnes plunged into the heart of their memories, a kaleidoscope of laughter intertwined with heartbreak, joyful moments colored with sorrow. Each stroke felt like a prayer, a liberation from mourning into becoming. She could feel the energy crackling, each soul awakening as the painting began to pulsate with life. But the menacing figure roared again, this time with desperation. It lunged at Agnes, furiously trying to snatch the brush from her grip. "You can't escape your own darkness," it howled, its shadowy fingers clawing toward her outstretched arm. And the air hung thick with tension. Agnes ducked, breathing heavily, sensing the storm breaking outside and the essence of the lost souls surrounding her pulsing with energy. Would she be able to shatter the chains and bring them freedom? Or was she just feeding into the malevolent force trying to control her? With her heart racing, she pushed forward, knowing the moment of reckoning was near. Would the clash between light and dark unleash a final truth? Or would it seal their fate forever? Agnes's heart thundered as she leaned closer to the canvas, every brushstroke becoming an act of defiance. She could feel the weight of the spectral souls behind her, their collective breaths mingling with the tempest that swirled around them. It was as if she commanded a dark army, a heartache painted boldly across the canvas of time. "Let them out," she cried, her voice slicing through the chaos. She dipped her brush deep into the pigments, colors intertwining like lifelines, each lash of her arm a song of freedom. The dark figure writhed, its shadowy form flickering with irritation, trying to throw her off her focus. "You think they want your mercy?" it sneered, the wind howling in agreement. "They're far happier in limbo. It's south, the only place your feeble hands cannot taint." "No," Agnes shot back, conviction fueling her resolve. The souls had suffered too long under its grasp. With her next stroke, the colors burst forth, vibrant and turbulent, filling the space with a soft glow that brushed against the edges of darkness. Around her, townsfolk gasped, clinging to each other, eyes wide with fear and wonder. Marge yelled, "Keep going, Agnes. You can do this." Their encouragement surged through Agnes's veins, solidifying her courage, electrifying her movements. The crowd drew closer, their anxious breaths mingling with the storm. Suddenly, the dark figure lunged, its ghastly arms slicing through the air toward her. The tendrils of shadow crackled with energy, swirling dangerously close. Agnes ducked again, the looming presence of dread igniting a fire within her. She sensed that the moment of truth was born of this very confrontation. What had she held inside her all these years? Her hand moved deftly, painting with urgency. Colors flashed, brilliant blues of hope, fiery reds of anguish, greens of renewal. It was a riot of human experience, a whirlwind of every joy and heartbreak she'd ever felt. The more she painted, the more vibrant the figures became, as if they were fighting to emerge. Each stroke became a declaration of intent. "Together, we are stronger," they cried, and the once sorrowful images began to merge, creating a tapestry of strength, a vibrant quilt of resilience against oppressive shadows. The figure screamed as its grip faltered. "No, you cannot create life from anguish." It swiveled, the air thickening with its hatred, dark clouds shielding the moonlight. Panic bloomed in Agnes's chest. Was the painting a beacon of hope? Or just another trap? "You need to finish this, Agnes," echoed the last fleeting notes of urgency from the souls. Summoning every ounce of courage, she pressed on. The brush danced in her hand, slow and deliberate at first, then faster, swirling and diving onto the canvas. She could feel the rhythmic pulsing of countless hearts, their brilliance pushing against the shadows. Just as the painting seemed to reach a climax, the air suddenly chilled. The dark figure raised its hands in defiance, its form expanding. "You think you can rewrite destiny? I am a part of them. I will never let them go. With a final flourish, Agnes laid down her brush. The painting shimmered, and for a moment time halted. The crowd fell silent, breaths held in collective anticipation. The dark figure lunged one last time, shadows swirling like a cyclone, desperate and furious. Then everything changed in an instant. A blinding light erupted from the canvas, flickering like the dawn. Agnes shielded her eyes as the figure reeled back, its face contorting in terror. "Let them go," she shouted, her voice soaring above the turmoil. But could she complete the release? Or had she just opened Pandora's box? Was this the moment she had been fighting for? Or the beginning of a downfall she couldn't foresee? As she caught her breath, Agnes's heart pounded. Moving shadows were gathering again, whispering promises of vengeance. A new battle loomed on the horizon. What awaited her beyond the glow? The light pulsed, blinding and brilliant, swallowing the darkness around Agnes. Every flicker felt like a heartbeat, strong and steady, but beneath that, a simmering dread curled tight in her stomach. What she had unleashed could either save the lost souls or bring ruin to them all. The crowd surged, faces painted with awe and confusion. Murmurs floated like lost whispers, unsure of what to believe. Is she doing it? Someone gasped, can she really set them free? Every voice wove uncertainty into the air, thickening it like a fog. As the light flickered, the dark figure writhed, warping and twisting. "You think this is liberation?" It screeched, its tone laced with venom. "You can't erase what I've woven into their very essence." The shadows around it undulated, eager, almost alive, as though they relished in the chaos. The luminous glow pulsed again, a soft yet piercing beacon of hope, and Agnes firmed her grip on the brush. Colors exploded from her canvas: reds, blues, yellows, each hue a vibrant testament to the lives yearning to break free. The shadows fought back, tendrils reaching, snapping, desperate to cling to what was familiar. "Fight! Don't let it take you!" she screamed, directing her message toward the souls trapped in the tapestry. The painting seemed to thrum with energy, as if responding to her rallying cry. Agnes could almost hear the soft echo of voices, those long silenced, rising against the dark. Out of the shimmering light, a form began to manifest. It was vague at first, a silhouette shaped by sheer will, but then it sharpened, becoming ghostly, ethereal but somehow tangible. Faces emerged, smiling, filled with a warmth that crushed the cold grip of despair. Agnes's heart raced. They were breaking free. But anguish flickered across their faces, woven tightly with doubt. "What is happening?" they called, their collective voices a haunting symphony. "Will we be lost again? Will it hurt?" "No," Agnes gasped, tears stinging her eyes. "You are meant for life, meant for freedom. Stand together. Remember who you were." With those words, the illumination flared again, reacting to her conviction. The figure of darkness shrieked, its visage twisting into a mask of fury. "Foolish girl. They belong to me. I will not let you take them." It lunged forward, an avalanche of shadow and fury crashing against the fragile glow. Time seemed to stretch, but an electric current surged within Agnes. Her heart thundered against her ribcage. She narrowed her focus, forcing every ounce of love and determination into her strokes. The canvas glowed brighter, capturing the soul's last moments of fear and transforming them into radiant expressions of hope. Yet suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The darkness screamed, its form trembling in the light. "You cannot, will not alter what has been." It lashed out, its tendrils flicking at the radiant beings like whips, seeking to shatter the fragile barrier forming between light and shadow. Just then, a piercing scream sliced through the night. Agnes spun around, eyes wide, heart in her throat. Marge fell back, clutching her chest, eyes rolling back in dread. "Help! Agnes!" she gasped, the weight of an invisible presence pressing her down, pulling her into the inky abyss. "No!" Agnes cried, her pulse racing like a runaway train, panic clawing at her insides. She could feel the darkness reaching out, snaring Marge like a spider with its prey. In that moment, a twist of fate ignited a choice. Did she save her friend and risk losing everything? Or could she harness the light and fight for both? The chilling darkness encroached, shadows devouring her hope. Agnes's fingers trembled as she faced the ultimate decision. What would she choose in the face of unimaginable terror? Would she cross the fragile line between salvation and damnation? As the shadows danced hungrily, Agnes inhaled sharply, ready to confront the dark, steeling herself for the battle ahead. In the crescendo of the tempest, she sensed one final chance lingering, waiting to be seized. Would she act before it was too late? Would the canvas reveal its true power or hide its secrets forever? The ground trembled beneath Agnes's feet as she felt the darkness thicken, swirling like a storm coming to life. Her heart raced, caught in the whirlwind of chaos. Marge's scream echoed in her ears, and with each passing moment, she could almost feel the weight of despair crushing down on her. "Hold on, Marge," she shouted, forcing the words through the fear that gripped her. The figures caught in the light seemed to flicker, wavering like flames dancing in the wind. Shadows writhed, desperate to regain control, their tendrils snapping menacingly. The dark figure loomed larger, its jagged edges crawling closer, hungry to consume the last vestiges of hope. It howled, mocking, "You think your art can save them? They are part of me now. You are fighting a losing battle." "No," Agnes screamed, her voice slicing through the anguish. She couldn't let defeat seep into her soul. The light surged, but she needed more. The breath of the crowd rushed over her like a tidal wave, urging her on, filling her with strength she didn't know she had. She turned back to the canvas, wild strokes flying from her brush. "I see you. I know you. You are not lost." At that moment, her heart poured into every movement, igniting a fierce glow that lit the night. The colors harmonized, defeating the inky blackness just enough to hold it at bay. The form of Marge, caught in the dark vortex, began to shimmer. Her eyes, wide with fear, met Agnes's. The connection fired Agnes's resolve. "You're stronger than this. Remember the laughter, the love. Fight." Marge's form flickered. Suddenly, she broke through for a moment, her voice rising from the shadows. "Agnes, I'm scared. It pulls me, it's so strong. Don't let it take you. Remember, our dreams are stories." Tears streamed down Agnes's cheeks. She focused harder, pouring her rage, her love, her memories into every stroke. Light erupted, washing over the crowd, urging them into a frenzy of support. "Go, Marge. We're with you." A voice cried out. Hope erupted within the thrumming chaos, each person weaving their own threads of courage into the fray. But the dark shape screeched even louder, its voice shaking the very air. "You are a fool. I will take what's mine." It lashed out, tendrils shooting forward to ensnare not just Marge, but the crowd, pulling them into its murky embrace. "No." Agnes's voice held a raw power, echoing with stubborn defiance. She touched the glowing canvas, invoking every ounce of her strength. "I will not let you win." With a desperate brush stroke, she painted a barrier of light, an impenetrable wall of vivid brilliance. The canvas glowed fiercely, expanding like a shield, pushing back against the shadows, forcing the dark figure to halt. Marge's form trembled, flickering between the world of shadows and the warm light of the souls around her. "Agnes, I can feel it. It's fighting me. Push back. You're not alone." Agnes shouted, fingers flying over the canvas, racing against time. Suddenly, she felt a shift. A whisper of darkness slipped past her barrier, clawing at her humanity. Agony pierced through her as she sensed the chilling touch on her own heart. The shadows stung, creeping under her skin, threatening to engulf her very essence. "Marge!" she cried, realizing the danger was closing in. Would the light hold long enough to save them both? Or would despair consume them in this final moment? The weight of the choice pressed hard, a realization looming. She could either save her friend or let the darkness swallow them whole. Would her love be strong enough to shield them both? The light flickered, caught in a tug of war between salvation and shadow, teetering on the edge of annihilation. What would Agnes sacrifice? The answer felt just beyond her reach. A sudden chill wrapped around Agnes, tightening like a vice. She felt the life ebbing from her fingers, the paintbrush slipping away, as if the darkness were siphoning her strength. The howling intensified, echoing like a monstrous choir, each note steeped in rage. The chilling touch scraped against her heart, each stroke deeper, more menacing than the last. She locked onto Marge's gaze, a lifeline twisted in despair that begged for salvation. "Fight! You're stronger than this," Agnes shouted, but terror snaked through her, whispering doubts that clawed at her sanity. Would love be enough? Marge writhed as shadows clawed deeper into her essence. "Agnes! I can't, it's pulling me down." Her voice trembled, thin and fragile, barely erupting past the veil of darkness. I won't let you go. With every ounce of emotion, Agnes pressed against the chaos. The barrier pulsed like a living thing, but behind it, the dark form writhed violently, seeking a way through, and then, something began to shift at a flicker of emotion. A spark of realization caught the edge of Agnes's heart, a memory of laughter shared, of warmth and resilience. Remember when we painted that mural? When we poured our souls into every corner, breathing life with our colors. Do you feel that, Marge? It's still there. Marge's voice thickened with remembrance, and for an instant, the shadows pulled back. Let it flow. Let our memories surge together. She touched the canvas again, where the colors merged gracefully. A surge of light broke through the darkness, heating the air around them, resonating deep within the crowd. Their energy thrummed through her, lifting her spirit and pressing back against the shadows. The floor quaked beneath them as the dark entity screeched again, furious. You think a smear of paint and an echo of voices can challenge me? I will break you both. No. The defiance flew from Agnes's lips, fierce and electrifying. She painted with wild abandon, bright hues exploding from her brush. The shadows fought and surged against the barrier, creating fractures in the light. But Agnes knew one last stroke would seal it. One last stroke would cast the darkness back into the abyss. Summoning every memory of love, joy, and connection, she launched her paintbrush forward. The very air charged with anticipation. Whispers of strength from the crowd echoed in her ears. We believe in you. Tendrils of darkness shrieked as they reached toward her, desperate to consume. Agnes felt the icy fingers clawing at her, but she pushed harder. The paint splattered across the canvas, radiating warmth, a dazzling shield of light pulsing brighter than the sun. In that moment the darkness recoiled, it howled in anger, echoing through the night, sharply piercing the held breath of the crowd. Agnes, I can feel it, Marge cried, her form shimmering, teetering between the abyss and the light. It's weakening. Yes, together. Agnes shouted, not just to Marge but to the crowd, whose voices swelled with fervor, igniting a collective force that transcended fear. Together we can drive it away. But a sudden flash of monstrous rage surged from the darkness, spilling forth shadows that threatened to engulf them one last time. Agnes and Marge stood united, but doubts crept back, nibbling at the edges of their resolve. Could they truly harness enough light to ward off the endless night? As the sinister laughter encircled them, the shadows roared, summoning a storm. What would it cost them to finally break free? In a heartbeat, Agnes realized the stakes were even higher than she had thought. Could love survive in this tempest of despair? The answer loomed, but just out of reach, drawing them further into darkness. The storm erupted, a fury of shadows surging like ravenous wolves. Agnes felt the grip of darkness tighten, pulling at her heart, her spirit. Every fiber of her being screamed to step back, to let go, but she wouldn't yield. Not when Marge was fighting. Not when they had the power of all those memories behind them. Agnes. Marge's voice sliced through the chaos, shaky yet resolute. We have to hold on. Not just for us, but for everyone who believes in us. With a fierce determination igniting within her, Agnes dipped her brush in the clearest blue. A color full of sky and ocean, a color that spoke of endless possibilities. She thrust it onto the canvas, where it ignited as if the very heavens had poured through. The light cascaded like a wave, crashing against the shadows, illuminating the swirling darkness with an ethereal glow. That's it, keep going. A voice from the crowd called out, a beacon amidst their despair. The crowd, once gripped in terror, began to whisper affirmations, breaths warming the air around them. We believe in you. But the dark entity was unstoppable. Its voice, a guttural rumble, echoed in every corner of the chaotic space, insistent and primal. You think hope can conquer me? You're only prolonging your misery. Agnes felt the cold creep back. It pulled at her thoughts, whispering lies she had buried deep. Memories of doubt surfaced, the time she felt powerless, when resilience had seemed futile. No, she shouted, addressing her own fears, pushing them away. We're not afraid of you. Marge shimmered at her side, anchoring Agnes as they rallied against the darkness together. Remember why we started this, our art, our love. It's bigger than this darkness. With a surge of strength, Agnes let loose a flurry of colors: yellow, red, vibrant greens. Each stroke pushed back against the shadows, a riot of life against palpable despair. The mural transformed, depicting the sun rising over a horizon of hope. As Agnes painted, her breath quickened. The shadows recoiled again, screeching as the light fought back fiercely. But with it came a creeping dread. It's not enough. We need more. She realized, grasping that memories alone wouldn't be enough. They needed something deeper. What about your grandmother? Marge cried, eyes wide with urgency. A flood of emotion surged through Agnes. Her grandmother's laughter, her wise lessons and unconditional love rushed to the forefront. Yes, Grandma. The memories of her strength, resilience and unyielding spirit bubbled to the surface. They had survived storms far worse than this. Let us unleash it. Agnes urged, the power of their shared history channeling through her. Both women leaned into the canvas in unison, each brush stroke a solidarity of heart and spirit. They painted her grandmother standing strong, a woman who had weathered her own storms, arms open wide, ready to embrace hope. But the darkness roared one last time, a desperate shriek rushing toward them, trying to silence the light. Fear gripped Agnes's chest, but she refused to falter. Drawing from the deepest parts of love and connection, she took a breath and poured herself into every stroke. Suddenly, the brush felt like an extension of her very being, a conduit for all the vibrant life her grandmother had infused in her. Then came a shattering crack. A fault line of light burst from the painting, revealing a new layer, a firmament of truth that connected the living with those who had passed. Agnes, it's working! Marge yelled, the energy shifting in a palpable ripple that coursed through the crowd. But then she saw it. The darkness was regrouping. It was monstrous, more feral than ever, seeking to close in before they could complete their vision. What happened next would determine everything. Can we hold it? Agnes whispered, despondence clawing at her once more. Together we can defeat it. Together, Agnes. We must. Marge steadied her gaze on the dark heart. Knowing the risk all too well, with one last surge, they thrust their emotions forward, fully awakened. But what if the dark had one final trick up its sleeve? And as the shadows closed in, the air pulsing with uncertainty, fear, and an electrifying surge of hope, one question echoed louder than the chaos: was love truly powerful enough to win this battle? Agnes stood before the canvas, heart racing like a wild stallion. The frantic energy swirled around, shadows writhing, reaching for her, wanting to drag her and Marge down into the abyss. But in the face of that darkness, she felt something shift inside her, a rush of purpose igniting every nerve. Remember who you are, she shouted, her voice piercing through the storm like a beacon. You are not just shadows. You carry the weight of every story. Together we have the strength to break free. Marge's spirit shimmered beside her, clinging to hope despite the cold tendrils of darkness coiling around them. You're so close. Paint with love, Agnes. Paint from the heart. With those words, Agnes refocused on the canvas, dipping her brush into a glimmering white. The color flowed in a ribbon of light and love. She swept it across the chaos, letting memories flow through her like a tidal wave. The laughter of children, the warmth of sun-soaked afternoons, the whispers of hope shared with friends. Each stroke became a thread binding the past to the present. But the dark figure writhed in rage, its voice a guttural growl. Foolish woman. You think you can change fate? I will reclaim what is mine. Agnes's heart pounded as the shadows lunged at her, but she refused to back down. You can't control them anymore, she yelled, pushing against the storm. They deserve to see the light. The canvas began to shimmer, colors pulsing deep with emotion, swirling and merging as if the very essence of those lost souls was pouring forth. The onlookers in the crowd gasped, witnessing the power of Agnes's pain morphing into beauty. Thunder cracked above them, reverberating through the air like the collective heartbeat of the town. The figures from the painting stirred, whispers breaking free like sparks in the darkness. We remember, we want to be free, they called, their voices melding with the light. Agnes seized that moment, every ounce of her being charged. She dipped her brush back into the vibrant hues and painted fiercely, crafting scenes of joy and connection, families reuniting, laughter echoing, hands reaching out to one another. Every stroke unveiled their stories, each burst of color ignited with their power. Marge stepped forward, a luminous presence beside Agnes. Keep going. Feel their strength. Feel ours. The crowd responded, their energy surging like a wave at her back. sharing their love and belief. They held on to one another, their traction on the threshold of light fueling Agnes's determination. The shadows roared, reeling back as their grasp weakened, but the dark figure let out a shriek that split the air. You cannot escape what you are. Agnes felt a chill seep into her bones again. Memories of doubt clawed at her, the oppressive weight of fear creeping back in. But then through that dark haze, a voice echoed in her heart, her grandmother's voice, filled with courage and love. You are stronger than you know. Do not relent. With renewed vigor Agnes shouted, this isn't just my fight. We are all connected. Together, we are unstoppable. The canvas exploded with light, bright as the sun, pushing back the encroaching shadows. Each burst transformed the figures inside, drawing them along into freedom. The dark figure staggered, its menacing form flickering like a flame against the wind. This is your last chance. It bellowed, desperate. You can't silence what I am. With every ounce of love, joy, and humanity buzzing through her, Agnes leaned in one last time, her brush flicking against the canvas in a final fervent motion. We are not afraid. In an instant the light erupted outward, engulfing the darkness, enveloping the town. There was a moment of deafening silence, and then it shattered like glass as colors erupted across the sky like a dawn breaking the night. Gasps filled the air as the painted figures, now shimmering with radiant light, broke free from the confines of the canvas. Their forms, once twisted in anguish, transformed into beacons of hope, swirling around the townsfolk like luminescent fireflies. One by one they glided into the hearts of the people, gathered reminders of love, connection, and the indomitable spirit of life. The dark figure let out one last wail, disintegrating into the light, its influence fading into the echoes of history. Marge and Agnes stood breathless, the storm above retreating, and the rain softening to a gentle mist as the last rays of sunlight broke through the clouds. The townspeople, awash in vibrant colors, stepped forward, embracing Agnes. You did it. You saved us all. They cheered, faces lit with wonder. Tears streamed down Agnes's cheeks, a mix of relief and joy. Rallying the lost souls had woven a tapestry of newfound connection within her town. We did this together, she exclaimed, feeling the warmth of community surrounding her. Now we honor their stories. We won't forget, she vowed. The canvas sparkled behind her, a testament to the transformative power of love and remembrance. And as the crowd erupted in applause, Agnes knew she had awakened something profound, not just within herself, but within everyone. Together they had emerged from the storm, brandishing not just paint on a canvas, but lives filled with love, connection, and hope. So, as they celebrated, Agnes looked skyward, grateful for every whisper of strength and every story shared. She knew one thing for certain. Light always triumphs over darkness, as long as love remains unforgotten. Now don't you dare miss out. You need to subscribe immediately to catch all the exclusive stories coming up next. Hit that button now. Smash the like button to feed the algorithm, and let everyone know this incredible journey turned out. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this amazing ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Your support means everything.